All right, 2 Chronicles chapter 11, let's call this one For Now Recovering, because in this chapter, as we promised in the last, we are going to get a chance to see Rehoboam begin to recover from losing most of Israel. However, he's going to start out on the wrong foot, but correcting a major flaw he had in the last chapter by not listening to sound advice. So he is going to try to, first of all, recover by recovering the territory he lost. But he's going to get a word from the Lord saying, do not go and try to recover what you have lost, because this situation is from the Lord. Understanding that it goes back to Solomon's sin, multiplying many foreign wives that eventually took him away from being focused on accomplishing the things that God had set out for him to do. And so this goes back to something we've talked about before, and that is the difference between cause and proximate cause. Because in this circumstance, the proximate cause was Rehoboam's bad judgment, listening to bad advice and rejecting good advice. But the larger cause goes back to choices his father made before the kingdom was even handed over to Rehoboam. And so Rehoboam, even though he is not innocent, is in a situation that is basically larger than he is. However, to recover from it, he is not simply going to pout, but he is going to build, going back to what Solomon actually did to establish his kingdom, both rebuilding and building cities beyond his initial construction projects in Jerusalem once his kingdom was established. Now that Rehoboam is established over a smaller kingdom, a mere fraction of what was handed over to him, he is not going to pout. He is simply going to build up, strengthen, and fortify what he has left. And he's not simply going to build it up for himself. He is going to make it a refuge for people who are now being deported from Israel, since Jeroboam is quickly going to begin to mismanage all that God has given him. And he is actually going to turn on the people through whom God has been blessing the nation of Israel, removing the priests from their positions, essentially leaving them to wander and basically offering Rehoboam a windfall. And he is going to use the little that he has left to show hospitality to the priests, and they are going to return it by literally, the chapter is going to say, strengthening Judah for the next 3 years. And not only that, Rehoboam is going to go on to position his own household to do something that he didn't have the benefit of. See, even though his father Solomon was a great king, Solomon handed the kingdom off to Rehoboam in a condition that made it extremely fragile and likely to falter. And so Rehoboam is going to turn that around. And even though he has only a fraction of what he inherited, he is going to make sure that that fraction is stable at the point he hands it off to his son Abijah. But before we get there, Rehoboam isn't through messing up. He's going to mess up again in the next chapter. But as good as he seems to be at messing up, he seems to be just as good at recovering, which we will see in the next chapter, as Rehoboam is going to seem to be so focused on rebuilding what he has left that by the time he passes, he is going to hand his son 2 tribes in Judah that are actually stronger than the 10 tribes Jeroboam has in Israel.